Hello there folks, and welcome back to another speed paint video. It's been a little bit since I've drawn some phone wallpapers for my Ko-fi shop, and I felt very inspired since, at the time of recording, Pokemon Legends EA comes out tomorrow. So I thought I would do some various Pokemon-themed illustrations for wallpapers for my Ko-fi shop. These illustrations all have a theme of being sky-related, so I wanted to include lots of clouds and a fun, big, beautiful sky in all of these illustrations. So without further ado, let's get into the speed paint. Our first wallpaper takes full advantage of the Legends ZA hype by including Mega Dragonite. So this is a fun little landscape featuring a shiny Dratini in the foreground and a Dragonair in Dragonite flying in the background. I always enjoy in the anime when they would show Dragonair flying and it would use like its little ear wings and make them really big. I always thought that was so cute, so I was very happy to see that design decision made in Mega Dragonite and carry over that theme. I just thought that was so cute. I also just wanted to draw like a very nice, kind of off-green, minty sort of landscape here. This is really just a drawing that was very much about the process first and foremost. I just wanted to have a nice sense of depth from all the mist from the mountains and such. I wanted to have some nice sharp cliffs to contrast with the more stable looking mountains in the far background. And I thought it would be fun to put some nice textury like foliage and bushes and flowers and stuff in the foreground by Dratini and its little pond. And I thought it would be fun to kind of play with the transparency aspect with Dratini in the water. I just, I love these Pokemon. They're such a fun line, they're a classic for a reason, and I just think, like, Mega Dragonite is everything that I wanted from a Mega Evolution for Dragonite, so I had to draw it. It's honestly a surprise that I haven't done so yet. I just really felt inspired to do a very, like, sky-themed set, mainly because I had a good idea for what this illustration would look like. And I'm very happy with how it turned out. It was very satisfying to do, it was very relaxing to do. There's just something so zen about doing a landscape illustration in any context, I think. I think seriously, like, a lot of artists think landscapes and such are very scary or intimidating, and that's fair because drawing a background can feel very different from drawing a character. But I think doing landscapes is very relaxing, and you just gotta go in there with a mindset that it won't be like drawing a character, and that it'll feel different. And once you understand what it feels like, you'll come to love it, I think at least. So yeah, this is your sign if you're an artist who's a little bit intimidated by landscapes and such. I highly recommend doing some. I can't emphasize enough, like, unironically, watching Bob Ross episodes genuinely made me better at doing landscapes and backgrounds. So honestly, just following along with one or two of those with whatever art medium you may be using, whether you're using acrylic paint just like him, or you're digital painting like I am, I think there's a lot of fun to be had with doing backgrounds and enjoying the zen, wonderful process of drawing something out like this. And yeah, I just had a lot of fun. I like the idea that this little guy is in that pond dreaming of when they'll evolve and be flying up there with their little friends. And I just had a lot of fun with this one. I think it turned out very cute. Next up, we have one that's a little bit more of a wintry scene. I am very much in a mood where I really want to draw scenes with snow for some reason. I guess it's like, it's getting to be that time of year where the weather, at least by me, feels like it can't decide whether or not it's going to be hot or cold. And I'm very much a winter guy. I love snow, so I am ready for it to be nice and cold and chilly and have wonderful snow outside. Like, obviously, like, the lack of sunlight still bothers me a lot. Like, it's very weird for my circadian rhythm, but I love snow. It's definitely my favorite type of weather. So I decided to, get my snow itch out by drawing this little landscape. We've got an Articuno far in the background, and an Alolan Vulpix and a Snorunt hanging out in the foreground. I thought that would be very charming and cute. I've recently been rewatching the Pokemon anime from the Johto series onward, and at the time of making this illustration, we had very recently finished the part where, like, Todd from Pokemon Snap is going out into the mountains to photograph Articuno, and I just thought it was always so cool, like, the episodes leading up to that, seeing Articuno in the distance. I always thought those were, like, very nice little ideas, so this is kind of inspired by those episodes of the anime a little bit. with a bit more of an aesthetic angle of the mountains taken from the Pokemon movie 2000, that Articuno's Ice Island has this tall, very stark mountain that just juts up in a way that I very rarely see mountains do. So I always associated that kind of landscape with Articuno. I just had a lot of fun making something very nice and snowy. I really wanted the snow in the foreground to feel like distinct and sharp in the way that snow does compared to grass, but still have a little bit of texture to it. So I actually did use a grass brush that was very subtle in its texture in order to achieve that. And I'm very pleased with it. I love drawing a snowy landscape. Again, this is just such a fun one to do. There's a lot of opportunities for mist when you're drawing a landscape that has something like precipitation happening, where it's raining or snowing, or even just very foggy. I just love the sense of depth you get from doing something like that, so I just had a lot of fun with this one. It was incredibly self-indulgent for me, and I thought it would be a fun take on the sky, since this is a very different type of sky illustration compared to the last one, which was more sunny with like beautiful cumulus clouds. This one's more like an active storm with the snow, so I thought that would be a fun, different vibe that still kind of fits into the overall general sky theme I wanted to do for this one. Next up, we have one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. It's gotta be Flygon. At the time of recording, again, I'm recording this the day before ZA comes out, so I don't really know what's going on. I'm definitely in the spoiler bunker, trying not to get spoiled on things after all the leaks that are happening right now. But I am hoping that Flygon gets a Mega. I have no idea if it will, but I do love Flygon, so whether it gets a Mega or not, I just think it's one of my favorite Pokemon. It's super cute. When I was a kid, I used to sometimes bring a Flygon plush with me to school, and that thing, it is well loved. It is very worn out, but in a very good way. It's just such a charming Pokemon. I love this freaking little weird bug, this silly little antlion who loves to fly. Also in the background here, I included a couple very distance model-y Wingull as well. You can only really tell that they're Wingull because of the stripe and the fact that they have a slightly yellow face for their beak. And they're just so funny. I love whenever I see like a Pokemon landscape. I feel like a Wingull is like a nice shoo-in for a nice distance bird, and I just love seeing people, like, no matter what Pokemon fan artist you are, there's a good chance that you've done this, and I just think that's so cute. Like, Wingull is such a wonderful little distance model Pokemon for these kinds of illustrations. This one's definitely more sky and sun focused than the other ones. You don't really see much of a landscape here. It's mostly just playing with the shapes and the composition using the clouds and Flygon itself as the motivator here. And yeah, this one's very much a centered composition in a way that the other ones aren't. It's less of a large, deep scene and more of a specific illustration about Flygon specifically. And I still think it was a lot of fun. It was very much a more simple one compared to the other two so far, but I had a lot of fun with it. Flygon, again, one of my favorites. It's always so fun to do it. I kind of did this sprite, a little bit inspired by, I think, the Platinum sprite is the one that has a pose like this. But yeah, Flygon's just one of my favorite guys, and I'll take any excuse to draw it, so I'm sure you'll be seeing me draw more Flygon in the future. And I hope you enjoy this one, because I thought it turned out pretty cute. The last one that we have for today is my perennial favorites when it comes to drawing them in a landscape drawing. It's Latios and Latias. These two are just so charming to me. I love the Eon duo so much. They just have such satisfying shapes. They are so cute. I loved them in their movie, Pokemon Heroes. I just think they are such charming Pokemon. Like, it's amazing how cute they are. They really do just look like adorable little bowling pins to me. And they are just so good. And what's fun about them is you can kind of get away with making them basically just a gesture in the sketch. And their body is really shaped in such a way that you can basically just draw a line of action, and it's pretty easy to figure out where everything else is gonna go. Because they very much are a Pokemon that's built to look good in motion, no matter what angle it's at, and I think that's so cool. What a triumph of the design. I also do like looking at like the subtle differences between the two, like the way their face crest is different, their eye placement is slightly different, obviously their tails are totally different. It's always kind of fun like looking at them and seeing like what design choices, obviously they are very similar looking, but some parts of them are pretty different as well, and it's kind of fun seeing that, like, seeing those little subtle differences, the things they did to differentiate the two, even though they're almost identical. And I just think that's so cool. This is very much an illustration that was also about the clouds. I just had a lot of fun. I didn't really thumbnail in the clouds like I did for the other illustrations here. I just kind of went based on vibes and kept going until I felt like the rhythm of the piece looked good, and then eventually I shaded in all the shadows to give them more depth and make it a little easier to make focal points and stuff. And these are just some very wonderful clouds to draw. I just love... For my clouds, I usually use Devin L. Kurtz's Cloud Brush Pack, which I cannot recommend enough. I know I've probably talked about it a couple times on the channel before, but it's a wonderful brush pack, and it makes drawing clouds just so satisfying and fun. There's so many different options for the texture, and they all feel very convincing, and there's a good amount of variety between clouds that look very real and clouds that look very stylized. And it's just a lot of fun. Clouds are always, like, one of my favorite subjects to draw. Latios and Latios are one of my favorite Pokemon to draw, so combining them in a nice little wallpaper like this is very fun. So I'm just very happy with how this one turned out. And that is all the art that I've got for you guys today, so thank you all so much for watching. If you like these illustrations, you can get them on foam wallpapers for free on my Ko-fi shop, although a tip would be highly, highly appreciated. Thank you, by the way, to my supporters on Ko-fi, who helped make this video possible. Supporters on Ko-fi help make my life a little bit more stable, make it easier for me to allot time to make these videos, and it fulfills my dream of making my art a little bit more profitable, so I'll be able to do this as a job one day. So thank you all again so much for your support. If you want to join them on Ko-fi, I've got lots of wonderful stuff in there, like commissions. I've also got my shop, which has, you know, wallpapers like the ones you saw today, as well as emotes and other fun stuff. And of course, you can support me monthly and see your name appear in the credits at the end of each of my videos. By the way, I'll be teaching another class soon with the Leaping Fae. We don't have a date yet at the time of recording this voiceover, but I'm sure that we will have it up on our Instagram page, so if you want to know when I'm going to be teaching another art class, and you want to support a small business that's just starting up, go follow the Leaping Fae on Instagram, and you'll be able to see when I'm hosting my next art class, and I really hope to see you all there. And with that, that's all that I've got for you guys today, so thank you all again so much for watching. I hope to see you all again next week with another art video. And in the meantime, why don't you guys go out there and make some art?